Well, hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, and it's great to see you all watching today. You may be surprised to find that this show doesn't have its host. Why doesn't this show have its host? Because Helzo is very ill. He's very ill, but the network stops for no one. And if this show does too well, we might not need Helzo anymore. Welcome to the 5th episode of Discuss Things Tangent Kings. Our special guest is with us, but only for an hour because he's very busy and he's also ill. That's why I said, how are we going to do a show without a host or a guest? This is how. Welcome our panel. Roger, who ate Kai. Slay, who can't get his girlfriend pregnant. Jose, who can't mend his own truck. And Rhoda, who looks like Nick Recader. Here's our special guest. We have a panel of 6. We're going to put Roger in the corner because he spent $200 on a poster. And we're gonna guilt trip him about that until the end of time. It's great to see everyone. I hope you're all doing well.
I'm doing pretty good myself.
Excellent. You know, this is my favorite. This is my favorite type of panel show. 6 men or 4 men and 2 cartoons, right? I don't think Slay is pulling a Mama Rocco, but I can't take any chances in this day and age. But what we're going to do, we're going to catch up with the chat, and then we're going to catch up with the panel. Then we're also, before we go into topics, after we catch up with our panel, we'll fully introduce our guest. He can tell us what he does, and hopefully you will all enjoy that. But it's good to see Jose. You know, we never get to see Alky John because he's too busy abusing his family. But it is good to see. It's good to see Jose, one half, the better half of Cancel This Podcast, because the other half I just can't see. It's good to see Valerian. Hope you're doing well. Good to see Zalosi. It's good to see Roger Hopkins' Country Time Pop, which is an algorithmic nightmare because who are you? It's good to see me. Excuse me. It's good to see Slay every game. How you doing, Slay?
Hey.
Good.
I'm doing good.
Shells is on her period, so Slay.
Oh God, you didn't have to say that live.
Why? I'm gonna keep teasing you until she gets pregnant. It's great to see the Finch King, who needs donations or rent money. Hopefully you can all help him. Who else is here? It's good to see Clinton Ian Van Tonder, which is one hell of a mouthful of a name. And it's good to see Law Drag Neil. You know, it's nice to see all these fine folks and fellow creators in the chat. Great to see Rhoda as well. Hopefully everyone will enjoy today's show. It'll be a rampant success, and we will have set the precedent for all network hosts that I can host a show without them. All I need is their channels. So on that note, we're going to catch up with the panel, and we're actually going to start off with Slay. Slay, how have you been?
I've been doing good. I'm on hiatus from my streams because I was switching everything over from my laptop to my new PC, and in the process I ended up getting really sick last week, so I had to go to the doctor and miss some of my shows that I'm on and not do my regular stream. But I am coming back with the all new Skullcast on Sunday, this Sunday coming up in the morning, and now I run in 720p at 60 frames per second. We got a new intro. I got new clips. It's gonna be. I got all the tools. I just need to utilize them right.
Boo! Why aren't you running at 360p like I am? Boo!
I get trolled in the chat from doing. Someone actually trolled me in my chat on one of my first streams. They said your 360p gameplay is making me stroke out, and I said, you're stroking it? What are you, gay?
Not there's nothing wrong with being gay unless you are, well, gay. You should have just lowered it down to 144p. That's what I would have done. Also, Digny is far more talented than Slay. Digny achieved in a month what Slay has taken years to achieve. I'm practicing Slay for when I say this to Furious Dan when I pass him. So don't worry, it's not personal. You got to get your practice. How's Shells?
She's doing well, other than not feeling well today. She's been doing good.
Well, being on your period does that. Jose, how have you been since we last had a good talk?
Well, unlike a lot of people, I'm not sick. There seems to be something going around. I'm Jace, of course, with Cancel This Podcast. Just got done working with somebody on my truck, which was a pain in the ass, 2-person job. So I had to get brake pads done. Then I had to get some other stuff taken care of because it's Monday, because it's going to be busy. New month's coming in. Old month ending, new month coming in. That's always a busy time. Work's going to be busy. Last night, we celebrated our subscribers and followers because we're now over 2,000 followers on Cancel This Podcast by doing a watch along of the American Society for Magical. Sorry, can't say that word on YouTube.
You're black enough.
Yes, you know that word. Yes. But yeah, so that was probably the worst move I've ever seen. I would rather die of a disease than ever watch that movie again. The worst thing to ever happen to Hollywood since Harvey Weinstein. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good. Of course, I'll be gaming a little bit later tonight as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm fired up. So I'm here. I'm alive. I'm not dead. I'm broke, but I'm not dead. So things are going better than expected.
Well, I'll tell you this, folks. What's better than Harvey Weinstein? His DEI version. Who was that black guy? What was his name? Black comedian. Bill Cosby. Yeah. There we go. DEI Harvey Weinstein. But how about you, Roder? How have you been? Yes, riveting. Excellent.
Rhoda, you're muted.
No, he's not. He's bullshitting you. Keep speaking.
Okay. Was I actually on mute, or did you prank me?
I can't hear Rhoda now. What's going on?
Can you?
Yeah. I can.
You see, my computer fails so often. I don't know whether people are pranking me or not. Like chat.
So how have you been since we last had a good talk?
Yeah, great. I've had 2 colds in the space of a week, but they've both gone now, so awesome. Ordered my new Steam Deck today, so excited for that because there's a few games I haven't been able to play because I haven't had one. I lost it at the airport, by the way. It didn't break or anything. I literally lost it at the airport. So it's taken a few months for me to be able to get a new one. So really happy about that. And yeah, I'm also going to be streaming later on after the show. Surprised to be here, but glad you all wanted me. Lovely to see you all.
Well, Rhoda. Oh, I just blanked on what I was going to say.
I am very boring, I know.
No, it's perfectly fine, but you wouldn't be here if our host, our real host, wasn't bedridden ill. So we appreciate you for being here. I'm in a very unique position, folks. This is the first time ever that I've ever hosted a show like this, ever. Yeah. I mean, this is new territory for me. I haven't done this for years. I'm very nervous.
I'm sure.
Why? Look, one of our panel members literally ate a cartoon. I couldn't be more nervous. Roger, how have you been since we last had a good talk?
I am doing good. I had to disappear for a bit because my $200 poster finally showed up from Display, and I will reveal it here. Only 2,000 of these are being made. If you're a fan of One Piece, then there you go.
Yet more American decadence on display, ladies and gentlemen. Not like me. Not like me. I'm in the Arab world eating cats. But you, $200 for a gold-plated poster. Wow.
I am very financially responsible.
Yes, most Americans are. But no, we appreciate Roger for being here. He's also pro Rippaverse, which is fantastic for those who are pro Rippaverse. Not so fantastic for those who aren't pro Rippaverse. But yeah, that's a very interesting story. My mentor told me a lot about that. But now we move to our special guest. We might as well just rename this show the Illness Podcast, because everyone seems to be ill for some reason. It's good to see Mustafa, or as my mentor liked to call him, Mustafar, after that Star Wars planet.
You're like the fifth person in my entire life to bring up that reference.
Yep. Yeah, and the other four were my mentor, the main man behind Sabr Path. So, Mustafa, tell folks about yourself, what you do, and what you got.
Yeah, so it's Sabr Path, more like a U sound than an A. Not to be confused with Saber Interactive, who made that Warhammer Space Marine 2 game. Don't want to be confused with them. But if you want to think I made that game, that's fine. I didn't. But anyways, so my name is Mustafa. I guess I'm a game developer. I do all sorts of stuff. I worked in the game industry for a while. I was at Treyarch for like 3 years, but I was doing administrative work. I left because they weren't hiring me as a level designer. Like I learned to use Radiant, which was janky, not as good as Unreal. It's just very janky. And they didn't hire me, so I left. I went to a like an indoor cycling game, like a competitor to Peloton, and I did QA for them for like almost 4 years, like 3.5 years. So I have experience within like the game industry. I understand how the pipelines work. And then after I got laid off, because every single year that company was getting layoffs like left and right, I won the lottery. I got laid off. And since then, like I released a game on my own. It's called Nexus Defenders. It's currently on sale for the autumn sale. It's like less than $4. And if you like games like Defense Grid, the tower defense game, it's pretty much very similar to that. But I'm also working on a like a first-person puzzle horror game, which has been the development has been very rough because I gotta make money, and priority is on things that make money rather than things that isn't guaranteed to make me money. So that's why the development of that has been mostly on the back burner since this whole year. But aside from that, I do a YouTube channel, Sabr Path, same name as what's underneath my name over here. And originally I was talking about like what every other game developer talks about, which is game development and their own game, and no one came to my channel. So I saw so I switched, I pivoted, I started talking about problems in the game industry, related to the ideology that's being pushed, and then all of a sudden started gaining traction. I was like, okay, this is what I gotta talk about.
It's problem, solution, then execution, folks. You gotta show people what the problem is. You gotta show people what they can do about it, and then you gotta show them the way, right? Yep. For Slay, for Roger, and for Rhoda, because Jose is actually talented, you're getting a talented collaboration with a super special guest, right? You gotta learn from the best, right? Wednesday's show is already crowded enough, so we gotta bring developmental talent over here. Thank you, Helzo, for being ill so that I can do this. We appreciate everyone for being here. If you haven't already, like the stream, share the stream. Donations are always welcome. You can help Helzo tackle the cat crisis in Bulgaria. But I've often found that if you feed them too much, they'll just multiply like other entities. But before we continue, I got to get my pen out, because I got to
You're
write
never
down the
enough to
time.
give Mr. Beast for going to that country and giving him water, are you? Multiply.
Well, his name's called Mr. Beast. We all know what's going to happen. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, 2.1, 15 minutes. Wow. 15 minutes and 15 seconds. The first topic of the day I found very interesting, and that was IGN rates Ghost of Yotei worse than Dragon Age Veilguard as Sony faces a sucker punch. Now, of all the companies to describe themselves the most aptly, I think Sucker Punch is one of the best, apart from Halo Studios, because they're going to die very, very soon. That company is not going to last. But for years now, Sucker Punch have had a problem. They've had a problem of being infested, and you're seeing the effects of that most notably with Ghost of Yotei. I mean, the last time Sucker Punch put agenda first with their franchises, it led to the death of the infamous franchise, which enabled Ghost of Tsushima to actually be created, because one man's failure is another man's opportunity. But I just found it very interesting that IGN would rate this property lower than Veilguard, although Veilguard did get a change from 9 out of 10 to 7 out of 10. So that's very intriguing, because that's never happened before or since. But you never know. Let's start off with Jose, because he makes broken things better. What do you make of this whole situation?
Well, I mean, it's very simple. The fact is the check didn't clear. We know that these game industries are at this point bribing these review publications, whether it's IGN, GameSpot, Kotaku, whoever, to just basically, fillet them verbally. And so that's what's going on here. And unfortunately, I think sometimes because of the fact that there's this sort of DEI, unison, sometimes the company gets cheap. Sometimes maybe Sony wants to save a few bucks. They don't want to butter the bread of IGN that bad. So they think, oh, well, they'll just give us a high rating because we're all allies on the same side. It doesn't always work that way. And it was very egregious with Dragon Age Veilguard, because EA pretty much put something in the pockets of everybody and said, here you go. And I mean, you look at it, I did a whole thing where I went to the Gamer and counted the number of fluff pieces on Dragon Age Veilguard, and there were like 52 articles in a 30-day period talking about how great Dragon Age Veilguard was. You don't get that unless you pay for that. And that's a problem with the games industry. That's why I always tell people that you cannot trust reviewers. You can only take things with a grain of salt, because these people, they're not giving you an opinion that's honest. They're giving you the opinion that they were paid to give you the opinion of. A lot of people don't know this. A long time ago, and this is, a long time ago, I was like 17, 18 years old, infancy of the internet, sort of 90s. And I was part of a PlayStation review website. And Konami told us, if you want a review copy of Metal Gear Solid, you have to give Nagano Winter Olympics a good score. Well, we eviscerated Nagano Winter Olympics because the game was lame and gay. Needless to say, we never got that review copy of Metal Gear Solid, but I would rather have my integrity than lie to people and tell them that a log of shit tastes good.
Well, I'll tell you this, guys, before we get more of the panel's perspective, right? You always wait a minute before you start swearing on a network video. I think it's very good that we waited until 3 minutes, as my signal screams at me because I'm sharing my screen. But I'm going to read this, and I'm going to let you guys guess how much it is out of 10 from this description. A predictable but well-executed story. This is courtesy of IGN in regards to Ghost of Yotei. A predictable but well-executed story takes you through Ghost of Yotei's gorgeous landscapes and satisfying gender-fluid action. It may not be revolutionizing open-world gaming, but it's a great distillation of the samurai fantasy. So, Slay, how many out of 10 do you think, based on this description?
I think they give it an 8.
Yeah, I know what they gave it out of 10. I want to know what you would give it based on that description?
Oh, what I would give it?
Yes.
I would give it a 4.
There we go. A predictable but well executed 4 out of 10. I don't want you reviewing network shows. You can get fucked. What about you, Rhoda?
Well, these easily bought journo types tend to really like predictable slop, so I reckon they would have given it quite a high score. I mean, predictable is almost like a comfort blanket for them. They don't actually want to. They don't want to be challenged. They want to know exactly what they're going to play, like having the same bloody FIFA every year and all that. So I reckon 7.5.
You say that, Rhoda, but FIFA games don't exist anymore because EA
They're just called something else now.
Yeah, it's called
it's the same thing that they've
Sport.
been producing for the last 30 years every year.
Could you imagine FIFA told EA to pound sand? Could you imagine a toxic entity like FIFA telling EA you're too bad for our company? It's like pot calling.
I did enjoy that.
Black. And speaking of black, we've got the whitest panelist on earth, Roger. Give his perspective on this situation. A predictable but well executed story. It's insane.
Yeah, pretty much just going based off of the pure description that they're given, just with that statement and everything. We got it to the point where predictability should just be like the bare basic average that you should normally see when it comes to any kind of storytelling. So just given with like the graphic that they're talking about with the gorgeous landscapes and the action and whatnot, you would expect that a game would actually run well. So that shouldn't be put as like a big factor into the overall score rating because you're expecting it. But if that's the case, the most that I would personally give it would be somewhere between like a 5, maybe a 6, because if it's predictable and all that, it's just average at best at this point.
Exactly. Of course, we all know that IGN gave it an 8 out of 10, and this looks perfectly fine, but we know the game doesn't look like this. If only games look like their promotional material, folks. If only. You should never judge a book by its cover. Never judge a game by its promotional material. So, as a games developer, Mustafa, what do you make of this description? A predictable but well executed story.
I mean, like from what that description sounds like, it sounds like another one of their 7 out of 10 reviews. Which I mean, like everyone's pointed out how IGN has basically become like their own meme with their review system. Though there isn't anything inherently wrong with being predictable. It's more about like the execution and like how well it's executed. Like I got this book on my shelf called Building a Story Brand. It's specifically about marketing. And like it breaks down, like there's 7 steps that like every single movie basically follows these beats. And once you understand this, it's going to change how you view movies forever, because you're going to see all the movies, at least the big budget movies, not indie movies, but big budget movies, they all follow these 7 beats, and it's fine. It's not inherently bad. It's just you have to come up with a good execution and make it worthwhile with like whether it's the characters or the gameplay or whatever. Something needs to be exceptional.
Well, I'll tell you this, folks, because I've been playing the Halo franchise recently. We're currently on. I started with Halo Reach because Master Chief Collection and that sort of thing. We're now on to Halo 3, and there's one thing that I've noticed about Halo is that fundamentally it's the same damn game. The fundamentals is exactly the same, and of course, Halo Combat Evolved debuted, I believe, in 2001. And of course, Halo 3 was 2007. Halo Reach was 2009, 2010. And, as the franchise goes on and as the train begins to wreck, especially when Bungie left and 343, now Halo Studios, took the reins, narratively it begins to go insane. But fundamentally, it's the same damn game. The concept works. Right, the concept is sound, but the thing that's supposed to build it up constantly, that's where the Halo franchise, especially now, is constantly failing at. You've got a great concept, right? You've just gone off the rails in regards to the story and the arcs and the characters.
What's the matter, Digny? You don't like those neurodivergent skins they introduced into Halo? I mean, but
Now-
like. To what Mustafa
now.
said, though, every Marvel movie is basically the same thing. It's just the execution is slightly different in all of them, but it's basically follows the exact same formula. He's right, and this is the same for the gaming industry, and it's sad in some cases, because once you sort of see it, you can't unsee it, because the games are giving us less and less and less. Not every game needs to be a franchise, by the way. Ghost of Tsushima as a standalone, excellent game. Didn't really need a sequel.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
I'm just of the mindset now that when you get something successful, guys, you got to make something of it. It's very rare in this day and age for something to just be a success and then left alone. Usually when something is a bona fide failure, it gets left alone, and then we never see or hear from it again. But it is so rare these days for there to be a successful standalone product that doesn't turn into something bigger, because that's the life cycle of being. It's like you either fail and you get forgotten, or you succeed and succeed and succeed, and then you succeed too much and then you fail monumentally.
I have another theory about that, because being that I'm old as hell and I was around in the 1980s, there were so many new IPs being thrown out in the 1980s. It was just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. You didn't have what you have now. As you came into the 90s and the 2000s, you had like sort of a trilogy syndrome with everything had to be a trilogy. Everything had to be a trilogy. Now we're coming into, the 2020s. Everything either has to be a remake or everything has to be an expanded universe. And what that is I think as creativity erodes, you have less options. So everything is sort of milked for everything it's worth, because nobody has more than one good idea. And that's unfortunate.
Even the concept of creativity, and I'm only speaking in regards to the Western world, because I think we have this problem far bigger than any other part of the world. And it really reminds me of learning from the past, like the Soviet Union in the 80s. It's just we've run out of ideas. Our leaders are too old. To paraphrase an Orange Man, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We just don't, right? And that is a great example, whether it's politically, socially, culturally, or in terms of pop culture. The existing system has been around for too long. We need a breath of fresh air. We need new ideas. I mean, you look at gaming. You look at the video game crash, right? Before the video game crash, Atari was leading the way, and all the others were trailing behind. After the video game crash, an entire industry got wiped out. And if it wasn't for Sega and Nintendo, gaming would have been a fad that was here today, gone to tomorrow. And that's why, folks, if you want to
game crash is a myth.
Well, I like spreading myths.
Well, it's like it happened the very previous year that Nintendo came out with their console. So there's no gap in between, and also the companies that crashed, they're all of them are American. Like nothing happened with Europe or Japan. I think it's a story that's built to just make Nintendo look better.
Come on. Americans love inventing stories because it gives them importance.
Don't say that too loud. Nintendo will sue you. They love to sue people. They're like, how dare you? Sue!
And that's how you know it's a fake story.
And that just goes to show, especially with Nintendo's new CEO, who is not just a female, that's bad enough, but a lawyer too. It's like, what's going on?
Oh Lord.
This is Kathleen Kennedy has grown a brain and has taken over Nintendo. This is terrifying. But in all seriousness, folks, it's this mindset of the current institutions are failing because they've run out of ideas. But we live in an age where they're too powerful to simply fall apart. We're not dealing with something that's so big it has to fail. It can still sustain itself, even in this chaotic world. But now we're getting to a point where it's not that we're running out of ideas. It's just great ideas don't get the recognition they deserve because of existing entities just piling on the pressure. Nintendo's a fantastic example. You look at Sucker Punch, right? Their name embodies their company now more than ever because they're going to get sucker punched. Sony is just going to... Sony is the kind of company where if you just fail them, they will rip you to pieces and just eat you. They did that with Bungie because of the marathon disaster. And, you know, Bungie has been on an insane trajectory. How do you go from being on the edge of financial collapse to Microsoft saving you, to leaving Microsoft and giving them Halo, to being on your own again with Destiny, to then get bought out by Sony, to then be eaten up by Sony? It's
called bad leadership.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's a classic example of this infestation I'm talking about. You know, look at Slay. Look at Slay's character, right? This guy is a corpse, okay? This guy is a corpse cartoon character, yet he finds a way to make it work. That is creativity. This corpse cartoon who can't get his wife pregnant because he can't get it up because he's a corpse cartoon. What do you think, Slay?
I think that well, not to talk about what you just said, but
so inspiring that Slay is lost for words, folks. It's so inspiring.
I think that parody and satire are a very important weapon in fighting against this kind of thing going on in the industry. Because I mean, just look at the Yasuke simulator game and how much attention it got and how it went against, you know, the whole AAA pushing, the whole industry pushing Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it pretty much, like, you know, it made fun of it, but it made a great shitty game. Like it's not that great of a game, but it was fun, and it's more fun.
It would be
than
like
playing
making
Assassin's
Mario instead of Mario, and then you get sued, and then you get wiped out. But I think it's very important. I think it's very important, though, guys, to realize that the landscape is constantly shifting, and that's the great danger. Because if things get too unstable, it'll all fall to pieces. What was that, Slay?
I was gonna say we should develop a side scroller Mario knockoff with dignified cartoon gentlemen jumping around.
Yes.
Who would be the enemy?
Jumping on Israelis.
No. No, because I'll blow up. Well, speaking of Israelis, Rhoda, what do you make of everything we've just said?
Well, it's kind of, I can only really rephrase it. When an idea gets too big, it gets spread too thin. It loses its, for want of a better term, it loses its soul because too many people have to be involved. And like anything artistic, the fewer people involved, the better. Like the best bands have 4 people in them, not 8 people. Yeah, there needs to be one creative vision, and once you've got an expanded universe, you don't have one creative vision. You have loads of little branches, and they all start contradicting each other, and then they have to do something to stand out, which is normally make some kind of socio-political point, which turns a fraction of the fan base against you, and then that happens all over the franchise, all these little fractions turning against you, and then suddenly you've not got a franchise anymore. Nobody's interested in your shit, and it's dead.
You know, I think the Halo trilogy, apart from, you know, the plot losing itself towards the end of that, is a fantastic example. It's like Take on aliens. Twist, parasite aliens. Gotta blow up the ring. Then Halo 2. Fight the aliens. Take on the parasite aliens. The big aliens split up. You gotta survive. Halo 3. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, but people like Halo, so they're gonna like it. And then Halo 3 ODST. We did it because fuck it, that's why. And then Halo Reach. We're going to explain how all of this happens so that 343 don't fuck it up. And then that's Bungie's Halo, and people love it. Well, they love most of it. And I'm using Halo as an example because I've played it recently. It's fresh in my head. Then you've got what 343/Halo Studios did, right? They remastered everything because they actually need to learn how to do something with games development. Although they didn't actually do that, they outsourced it to different companies, including Sabr, which is very interesting. Then they make Halo 4. Here's this new bad guy. Kill him. Okay. Then they made Halo 5, which was to Halo what The Last Jedi was to Star Wars. And then they left it alone. And then they made Halo Infinite, which is a perfectly fine game. But they ruined it with the Halo TV show and this weird multiplayer, multicolored crap. And what's the future of the Halo franchise? As I said with Silent Hill F, it's fucked. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, nice 20-minute topic that I can split up into 2 10-minute videos. Oh, look, diversity. A black dog, a brown dog. Diversity, yay. There we go. And it doesn't have a tail for some reason. You weren't that hungry, were you, Jose?
No. They say that boxers, you're not. It's recommended to remove their tail because it gives them a lot of back pain when they get older. So just give them a nub. You know, you nub them when they're young.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
an actual thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing with my dog. I got an Australian Shepherd, and that's one thing they recommend is that if you get like shepherd dogs, you have to nip their tails off so that when they're herding like the cattle and everything, they don't accidentally step on the tail.
Yeah. I like how everyone is just stunned silent. It's just great.
That's because I was speaking through a mute microphone.
Oh, I thought we were just all learning about dogs.
Oh, I thought that. So in other words, you got hit by a dose of karma for mocking Rhoda at the beginning of the show. For not.
There we go.
Karma is Indian blasphemy created by people who don't wash their hands and make curry where they shit. Okay, folks? But in all, look, folks, we're just going to edit that out of a timestamp. But I was going to say 37 minutes and 10 seconds. We're now going to put it to 38 minutes and 10 seconds so I can airbrush the last minute from history. 2.2 is Marvel's Wolverine gets a Concord artist who makes a mockery of Mystique. Now, I'll tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing worse than failing upwards. There is nothing worse. Okay, maybe carpet bombing a city is worse, but there is nothing worse, to use a pop culture reference, than failing upwards. And now we've got a Concord artist working for Marvel's game hub in regards to the Wolverine project, which got almost completely leaked online. So what a way to doom your project with something like that. And now they're making all sorts of weird characters. Now, this, folks, is supposed to be promotional material. Promotional material. If they are releasing this as promotional material, we haven't got a hope in hell. Everyone's leaving because we got a donation. Thank you to Sabr, who's not a Hebrew, for $2, saying, so Karma is a British person. They aren't Welsh. Well, Sabr, I know you're an American because you can't spell properly. Furious Dan taught me that. You also have no idea how punctuation works. And I told you, I'm in Israel, right? I'm in a bunker. right? Protecting myself. Because none of it was our fault. Wink, wink. This land was promised to me 50 billion years ago. But in all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing with Marvel's Wolverine just goes to show that the industry is rotten to the core. And why is it rotten to the core? Because of a political infestation, right? It's like the Flood. To use another Halo reference, because I've played that game recently. They infect something, they take it over, they take all the relevant information they need and kill everything else for the sole purpose of expanding their operation. That is how the Flood work, that is how the opposition work, and that is never going to change. And the only way you defeat the Flood is to blow up the Halo ring. Simple. So, Jose, what do you make of this?
You know, it's one of the worst things that we have to deal with in the games industry is that these absolute failures can just put a name on a game and automatic sales, because a lot of the normies aren't going to pay attention. They're not going to see how ugly Mystique is until it's too late, until they've already spent $70-$80 for the game, because they're just going to look at the Wolverine name. Oh, I want that. Or the kid, oh, I want that. And they just buy it. And you look at this game, you look at everything with it, from the Deborah Wilson Callisto, to the Mystique, who looks very masculine, who they've already ruined in the comics, because instead of Nightcrawler's mother, she is now Nightcrawler's father, because she's able to grow male genitalia and impregnate another woman. That's an actual thing they did to this character. So of course they're like, oh, well, Mystique needs to be non-binary, so we need to avert the male gaze. Except if you looked at history, they've always put a pretty woman in the role playing Mystique in the movies. Rebecca Romijn is an excellent example. You've seen the character before. You know, she was always meant to be like alluring, even in her natural form, you know, this blue skin sort of mutant. And now you just have this woman with the first thing I noticed was the masculine shoulders. That was the first thing I noticed. That and the lack of an ass. And I'm like, oh, they cooked Mystique. And if she looks this bad, just think about all the preliminary photos we saw of Jean Grey while this game was in development. You think they made that any better? No, Jean Grey's going to look like Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy. She's going to look like a 45-year-old hag, and nobody's going to like it. But, oh, it's okay. We got Wolverine and we got violence. Yeah, you know what? We got Wolverine at home, because the X-Men Origins game really wasn't that bad. It was better than the movie was, for all it's worth. So, you know, I look at this and I just register this as another one to the do not buy bin. I didn't buy the Spider-Man games. I don't have a PS5. I don't want Ghost of Yotei. I don't want any of the slop Sony is putting out. And I don't give a damn how many ponies cry about it in the mentions on X. It's not going to translate into sales of anybody with a functioning brain.
Well, I'll tell you this, folks. This show is already a bona fide success because 8 people are watching a show on a channel whose creator isn't here. So I think that's a fantastic success. What's not going to be a fantastic success is Marvel's Wolverine, because it's just going to be another Western AAA game that treats beauty like a plague and treats the Flood like beauty. Vote with your wallets, folks, especially if it's $70 or $80. That's insane. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man. It's even crazier than the fact that Slay can't get Chels pregnant. What do you make of this topic, Slay?
Well, I think one of the biggest copes surrounding the uglification of Mystique and Jean Grey and a majority of these female characters we see in modern games, even when they have like a starting model that's beautiful, is that they say that there's quote unquote issues with scanning people into the game, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so how is it that games like Stellar Blade and Wu Chang, or hell, even WWE 2K25 have no issues retaining the look of the female characters? Hell, how can I, not even a game dev, make people in the character creator on that game look almost just like they do in real life?
You're able to do that, Slay. You're able to do that, Slay, because you're a racist.
Yeah,
And
and
your
made
second,
Furious Dan look very Mexican.
yeah. We all know that the terms racist, sexist, homophobic, and xenophobic are just buzzwords for talented, skilled, full of ability, and fully capable. And it's like, this is why I want more of the Arab world in our entertainment, so we can get rid of this pestilence in our own civilization, right? Even if it means being woken up at 6 a.m. because of, the loud speakers for the prayers, right? I would rather that than have our entertainment be polluted by this nonsense, right? And the ideal world is the best bits of everyone's society. And there's no better way to wipe out wokeness from our civilization with just a nice little flavoring of the Arab world. It's not all bad, folks. I know the Arab world gets, a bad reputation because you Americans can't find it on a map. But if there's one group of people that can get rid of this disease, and it is a disease, it's them. They know how to do it. They got bigger
won't.
problems, like finding water. You tried finding water in a desert? It's impossible.
Boy.
The Arab world would not get rid of it because they want the Westerners to be weak. They'd continue pushing it.
See, look, we can't even win that way.
Well,
It's
I don't know about that. Like SNK didn't make the women ugly, and the Saudi prince bought that.
Yeah, I was about to mention the whole entire thing of when they did with SNK and King of Fighters and everything, where we've seen like in fighting games in the last few years, all the female characters have gone through the uglification stick and whatnot. But at least the King of Fighters girls, they're all still really attractive, and they actually let them keep their titties and ass.
When they released that SVC Chaos port on Steam, people made a big deal that Athena was completely blocked out from the poster. Like it starts from her head rather than the rest of her body.
Mm-hmm.
This post, which I thought was brilliant, is on 4chan. And it says, "Why is she everywhere?" in regards to Deborah Wilson, who also happens to be in the Wolverine game. And the response is because she's black and ugly in a way that makes white people feel uncomfortable. Making you uncomfortable is their goal. It's not about profit anymore, not in this industry. The people who make these decisions have never been hungry or felt the need to improve their lot in life. They simply hate you and view making video games as art where they can express their ideological rage. And it physically discomforts them whenever they're reminded they're supposed to be catering to their customer base.
Yes. And, I think catering to people is the way to go. That's why you're seeing so many Arab references. Our special guest has a lineage that goes back to Iraq. Yes, that country, America. Yes,
most people can't tell. They see me and see an American guy.
Good.
Hey, look, Mustafa. To answer to your people, once your people bought Evo, I bought King of Fighters and Fatal Fury immediately. All right, that's my answer to that.
Look, the only DEI thing I want from the Middle East to give to these people is that the water is black. Right? It's not water; it's oil. It's like these people would literally drink oil. They've done worse. Okay, folks. But I think this picture, is a fantastic example of what we're dealing with. It's ideological subversion at its finest, and I think it's very important that we promote the breast. Yes, we need to promote the breast, the best and brightest in our spaces, because yes, Deborah Wilson is everywhere, and I'm sure she's making a lot of money doing this.
You know what my issue with that is? It's that I don't see them rendering any other voice actors. It's Deborah Wilson. If she's in the game, they're going to put her likeness in the game. But that's not the case with every single other voice actor that works in this industry. It's only with Deborah Wilson. You've got to shove it down your throat.
Well, perhaps it's a condition of her contract, because some people like Hulk Hogan. It's like, ain't gonna work for me, brother. Put me in this.
Apparently, she was in Doom: The Dark Ages, and she was a white woman in that one. I didn't play Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yes, thankfully she did play. She can be a chameleon at times. Actors are supposed to be chameleons in that respect. That's why the Romans treated them like crap, as we should. as well, right? Right?
Like,
No
what?
Yeah, I played
actors.
it, but I didn't catch that one because she didn't have the big bug eyes like she did in Suicide Squad.
You know, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you this right here, right now, Slay. Saying a black woman has bug eyes is not very good for an algorithm, so I'm gonna have to change my timestamp for the middle of this section.
Hey, it's
you
not his fault. She
racist.
looks like Abe from Oddworld. All right, that's her
Oh
fault.
no! Black Lives Matter, Wakanda forever.
I'm
Yas
just saying, she reminds me of that guy on that. Remember on that show in like the late '90s, early 2000s, he'd pop his eyes out like of his skull, and they'd just be like,
Oh,
"Whoa."
that kind of thing really makes me feel sick.
Oh, this has gotten uncomfortable real fast, ladies and gentlemen. This has turned. I know we're very close to October, but damn, keep the Halloween references for that time of year. We're not doing a Halloween show. No way, Pedro. No way. But what about you, Roger? What do you make of this topic so far?
Well, I mean, one thing I was trying to figure out is like, what in the world character is she supposed to even be in the game? Because that's another thing that I can't stand is that they don't even bother making characters look like how they're supposed to look like.
Roger,
anymore.
she's supposed to be Callisto, who's actually white, very
Really?
ugly, but has hair. Remember, Callisto had hair in the X-Men comics. Like she had really ugly, punky, like almost like a mullet thing.
Also,
Yeah.
Callisto's not 63 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, just aside from all that, like one thing that I will say is that I will admit that going back to like a Dragon Age and all that, I knew for a fact that it wasn't going to be a good game. I bought it just for the sole fact of streaming it, just to show off to people that, hey, this is what this game has and everything. I am tell you this, I sacrificed my money so I could tell you all to not sacrifice yours.
Well, the thing about Dragon Age Veilguard that was completely abominable is very similar to that of Halo 5. It's like the core idea is sound, right? It's just everything built around it was awful, right? The thing people... and that's the thing people need to understand. You've got the people who actually build the game, and you've got the people who, conceive the ideas for the game. And for Halo, it's very simple. Go here, destroy these aliens. Go here, destroy these aliens. No yellow paint, so you could be going around in circles. So let's have some yellow paint, people.
Just so Roger could see, I did pull up what the character is supposed to look like in the comics. So that's what we were supposed to get.
And that's the thing we're not going to get. You're not going to get a hairy white woman who's middle-aged. You're going to get a bold black
senior citizen.
Senior citizen. That was not what I was thinking. I was thinking bold black bitch in her early 60s. But yes, we're supposed to be like moderate here.
But no, it also shows that there's also another deep underlying issue with the gaming industry, because like I said, I was streaming it, Dragon Age. I couldn't even finish it, and it wasn't for all the stuff that was in the game and whatnot, that like the characters and whatnot. I've stopped because the gameplay was just boring.
Well, that's the problem. Roger.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, but and that's the issue, is the fact that they bring in these people that try to build up their quote unquote brownie points of like, look how many diversities we got in our gaming studio, but they get people that don't even know how to develop games.
Well, you know why they do that, Roger, is because of the fact that it's a criticism shield. They don't have to, take any criticism of the bad gameplay because you're just a racist if you don't want to play it. It's very easy to deflect and just blame, oh, well, you just don't want to play it because you don't like strong women. And it's like, no, your game was awful, and you put you basically invested your time and energy into the wrong part of the game. You were more important about checking boxes. You were more concerned with that than you were about putting a game together that people actually wanted to play.
Exactly, because like the game and everything was just so bad. I didn't even get to Tosh, the thing that people hate the most about that game. I couldn't even get to that freaking weirdo because the gameplay was just so boring.
And that's the thing. How does a company go from one of the most successful games BioWare has ever released to the point where Dragon Age Inquisition was the most financially successful game BioWare has ever created? You don't hear that often enough because people, rightfully praise the Mass Effect trilogy, except for that awful ending. But people don't realize that in terms of financial success, Dragon Age Inquisition ultimately prevailed. I don't know if any of the Mass Effect games won Game of the Year back when it mattered, but Dragon Age Inquisition did, 2014. Remember, folks, Witcher 3 didn't exist yet. So the best RPG around, with a massive world was Dragon Age Inquisition. People forget about it, largely because of how successful The Witcher 3 was, not just in 2015, but also in later years when the games industry was literally destroying itself in the late 2010s. But we're going to get our special guest's perspective. He can only be with us for an hour. So while you're still here, my good man, why don't you tell us what you make of this situation?
I mean, first of all, before I talk about that, I want to chime in real quick about the last point about like hiring,
Sure.
like DEI hires and all that. So while that is definitely an issue, like especially when we look at some of these people who are in roles of leadership, and you look at their LinkedIn, and it's like how they even end up at this position. I think the bigger issue that's larger than that is that even if they did hire the best of the best, an underlying issue with the development process with these larger studios is that they're just getting too big. And like even if they had the best of the best, you have diminishing returns with how large a studio gets. Because I mean, I'm going to be brief with describing how it is, but like you have the entire studio split up into smaller teams of like no bigger than 10, and that those people take ownership of a specific like feature or system or whatever. And like the reason why you don't want to have a team larger than 10 is because the more people you have in a team, the longer your meetings are going to get. So you want to have as few people in a team as possible. But on top of that, not only is that team meeting up with each other, they're meeting up with the other teams because the systems don't exist in a vacuum. So the more teams you have, the more meetings. So bigger teams equal longer meetings, more teams equal more meetings, and then you end up with like people who are literally working more meetings than actually doing stuff. And so that there's just a fundamental problem with diminishing returns with how big these studios are getting. So I just want to point that out, that's an even bigger problem than the DEI hires, because like the DEI hires, we could hardly, like case by case, we can prove that that's a problem, like when we look at specific people, but we can't say that's a problem overall because we can't really prove that that's what they're doing with the people. But I just wanted to chime in on that before I start talking about my thoughts on this whole Wolverine situation. And tied with like what Jose was saying earlier about like the normies are going to buy this, and I completely agree. They're going to look at, like, I looked at the comments on the video, and just about all of them were very positive. People were so hyped, they're excited, and these people aren't going to look for the red flags. Like Mystique's a clear red flag. In fact, I initially didn't even see that Mystique was a red flag initially because I was watching on my phone and her scene was so quick. Like the main thing I noticed was like how detailed her eyes looked. That was like the main thing I noticed. And there's going to be other people like me who are just watching on their phone and they're not going to like really see this as a red flag. And even then they're going to be like, oh, it's just one character, but they're not connecting the dots that there's like all these other red flags. And that trailer was definitely designed for like trying to hide the red flags because they got the yellow suit. People want to see the yellow suit. They had lots of blood. They had Omega Red. They had a Sentinel at the end. Like they're showing all these things to get people excited, and it's basically they're setting up for a bait and switch. Like they're hiding Callisto, they're hiding Jean Grey, which we saw like the leaked image of her looking like an old woman. They're hiding all these things. They briefly showed Mystique for a few seconds, just quick enough to, the average person just go just notice her, and that's it. And because of that, I think the game's definitely going to sell well. All they have to do is just keep on getting people excited with showing more of Wolverine slicing people up, and that's what the majority of people want. But people like us who are like keeping an eye out for these red flags, I think the majority isn't going to be looking for these red flags like we are.
Yeah, it's it's interesting that what you're saying, like before that, the point you made previously about how these larger teams just result in everybody being in meetings all the time. Like I heard some stuff about like to like relate it to my local life, like local councils having meetings to decide how many meetings they need to decide what subjects they're going to discuss. And I think it's exactly the same like with the gaming industry, with the entertainment industry in general.
How about 3 meetings a week in September, and then 4 meetings a week in October, and then 1 meeting a month, so that all the network hosts can talk about how we can make the network better. We're literally turning into that here. But let's make one thing clear. I'm the boss, and my mentor is the boss of me. So there you go, folks. In that regard, what was I?
What Mustafa said, it's like something Digny has been saying a couple times on this show, that if, let's say for the sake of argument, Clair Obscur was the exact same game but made by Square Enix, it would have bombed and it would have not made any money because of to what Mustafa said. It would have been this department, that department. You got to talk to this creative team, that creative team. You're not allowed to make a decision on your own. You can't even wipe your ass without checking with 3 freaking people in the building. That's a problem.
And that's why the future of Final Fantasy, in my view, will be, the remakes and the remasters, because they're a great way of training the new generation. That's why you're seeing so many remakes and remasters of things, because it enables new developers to actually get some first-hand experience and training. But before we say goodbye to our special guest, we don't want to over, what's the word I'm looking for? Over something. Overwhelmed. There we go. Thank you to What a Name. Thank you to What a Name for a $2 donation, saying donations, gifts. Yes. Well, thank you for your donations, folks. Hopefully we can get to 20 likes, and hopefully we can get plenty of donations for Helzo and his cats. There we go.
Yeah.
All righty then. So we're going to go to our special guest. He can tell you where you can find him, and then he can get some rest.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate you asking me on. I know you think of this as a small show, and that's what you're saying in the beginning, but like I treat everybody who reaches out to me as a professional, and I appreciate that you reached out to me. I'm having such a if people think I'm scowling because I'm angry, it's because I have a headache. That's why I've been scowling this whole time.
One thing before you go, good luck with the Blacks, and give my regards to the new Blackstreet, the also known as DEI's village people. Thank you very much for being on, Mustafa, and the door is always open. We won't have you on Wednesday shows because that's where all the nutters live.
I'm glad that you see me as not a nutter.
Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, perfect time for the next topic. Okay, what is going to be the next topic? You have a good night now.
Thanks. You two have a good one.
See you later.
Go and check out Subapath, which is short for submarine path, because you live in America for too long, you forget how to spell. It's as simple as that, folks. It's as simple as that. I think go on.
No, I was just laughing.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, my computer's starting to overheat because we're getting, slight technical difficulties. It's just over 50 Fahrenheit and I've got the fan on it. So we are doing whatever we can to keep this computer cold. Okay, folks, now we're on to the next topic, which I'll just write down. For an hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds. Like the stream, share the stream, donations are always welcome. 2.3 is The Completionist returns with yet another apology video. Now, not many people know about this situation, and if they do, it happened a long time ago. The Completionist saga, ladies and gentlemen. This is a man who was quite literally caught with his trousers down. He got exposed, for lack of a better term. And this topic comes courtesy of Smash JT, who was one of the creators to cover the Completionist saga, his downfall, his fall from grace. I don't know too much about, the specifics of this saga, but when you think about, say, for example, Nick Recader and his downfall, you can see a lot of parallels. The only differences are no drug abuse. Okay, folks? Everything was just spiraling again and again and again. And I think Smash's thumbnail is a great visual description of this topic. Okay? And I think a picture tells 1,000 words. Look at that.
Yeah, if there were drug use, he would have lost weight.
Exactly. The Completionist is back with another apology video. Now, folks, most content creators in their creator journey are going to mess up, right? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? We all make mistakes. We all do things we probably shouldn't have done. We all say things we probably shouldn't have said. The network wouldn't exist if my mentor knew how to play the game, or rather wanted to play the game, and that was his error. And I think the error with Gerard, the Completionist, is that he got too big for his boots, and then he just went completely insane, and then he stepped away. You're supposed to step away. The problem is, though, people aren't going to welcome you back in the same way. That's why being a topic of the day can be so dangerous. It can drive you to the top, it can drive you into obscurity, and it can also drive you insane. And in the Completionist's case, well, he's matched his channel's namesake. He has completed himself. Bye-bye. Don't need you anymore. You've had your time to shine. Now fade away. Just like Boogie. Right? You had your time to shine. Now you can fade away. And what we're going to do, folks, is that we're going to get panel perspectives to see if you guys understand any of this. And I don't blame you if you don't, because this goes back years. I mean, Smash covered it in, I think it was late 2019, early 2020. So this guy, his controversy is years old by this point. And we're going to let's start off with Roger and see where this crazy topic goes.
Okay, so basically from everything that I understood, the reason for the controversy is due to the fact is that his family started up this charity organization to help fight off some kind of a disease, is that what ultimately ended up taking his mom's life.
Ooh.
And
dementia.
I can't, like I said, I can't remember, because it's like what Digny was saying. This has been years in the making, and he's accumulated what was it, like almost half a $500,000 throughout this work, and it got revealed that apparently like his family was like pocketing some of the money for it and everything. I don't know if they pocketed.
It's crazy though, Roger, when you look at the specifics of this case and all these allegations, all the criminal investigations, all the charity fraud, which is alleged, of course, right? And I think the biggest red flag of all of this is the name of the charity in question. It's called the Open Hand Foundation.
Yeah.
That's not a good name for a charity, folks. It's like, give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money.
I just think of that one scene with that, I can't remember what the show is, but where she's at like this little meeting and she's like, money, please, and all that. That's exactly what I think of.
Parks and Recreation.
Oh, it's Parks and Rec? Okay. I couldn't remember.
And that's the dangerous thing, folks, right? When you realize the fact, and look, diverse doggy, when you realize the fact that a creator's downfall was as a result of misappropriated funds, right? You set up a charity. It's very simple. You are the middleman between the donations given and the donations sent. No more, no less in that regard. It's very simple when you boil it down. And these allegations surfaced simply because of the fact that the Open Hand Foundation was not open, not honest, and not transparent with the transfer between donations given and donations sent. That's the purpose of a charity, is to be the middleman. And one of the biggest criticisms of charities is that the people who run them and the people who are in them pocket all the cash. And that's the dangerous thing. Speaking of dangerous things, Lilith is in the chat. It's very odd that Lilith is in the chat as soon as our guest isn't here. Why? Lilith is the reason we're not going to have Mustafa on Wednesday shows, because it would be an explosive show. Last thing I want is a drunk going up against a Muslim, because that would be content gold if this show was called You've Been Framed, but it wouldn't be content gold if I needed to, I don't know, build a network. Well, moving on. In regards to this scandal, because it is a scandal, folks.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the completionist was deserved. There is no smoke without fire. And when you start a charity, there is a massive danger of things like this happening, because it does take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of experience to start a charity. And, maybe he didn't know what he was getting himself into, but his reputation is tarnished no matter the outcome. Jose, what do you make of this topic in question?
Am I the only one who looks at the completionist and he reminds me of the obese JD Vance memes?
Damn.
Just by looking at him.
Wow.
I was watching Smash cover this Thursday night after Cancel's podcast, because a lot of time after Cancel's podcast, I'll hop in to see what Smash is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, it was a very long apology video. And it's like, if you've already apologized once, apologizing again doesn't make your first apology or your second apology any stronger. It just makes you look like you are desperate for validation for what you did wrong. It doesn't make you look any more sorry. It just makes you look kind of like a douche. And given that it's the completionist, you already look like a douche enough before this. So, maybe not so much. I think what he did was screwed up. I think when you rip off people on an Alzheimer's charity, it's even worse, because something like Alzheimer's affects a lot of people. It affects, things like Alzheimer's, cancer, these really severe diseases that affect, millions of people that might be, viewers of your content. It really does make you look 10 times worse, because it was that specific charity, Alzheimer's dementia. I mean, my grandmother died of Alzheimer's dementia complications. My girlfriend's father died of Alzheimer's dementia complications. And so you say, oh, hey, I'm going to donate this to help those who are in need. And then you pocket the money yourself. get it. You know, there's not really much you could do. You know, there's no real saving face after something like that. You know, in my opinion, look, you know, yeah, it's forgiveness is one thing, but obviously, I think that as far as the completion is concerned, I don't think anyone's going to let that go. You can apologize 1 time, 2 times, 8 times, 27 times. It's not going to change what happened. What's done is done. If there are people who truly support you after that, that's on them. They're going to support you if they want to support you. A lot of people aren't. You're not going to win people back crying on, oh, I'm sorry. It's like that South Park episode with the BP oil spill. I'm sorry. Rubs nipples. I'm sorry. Doesn't work. Doesn't work for me.
Who are you looking out for, Roger?
Apparently, the FedEx person pulled up into the driveway again, and my dog was going nuts over it.
See, look, it's always nice to have a dog defending a household. What color was the FedEx driver?
White. It was a white woman.
Oh, those are the worst kinds. That means she's going to replace everyone.
Oh. Oh, dear. But I will point out right here, right now, that the completionist, from looks alone, it's like, has Roman Reigns become obese or something? This is the kind of guy that cannot be easily forgiven. You know, this isn't an offhanded comment that went viral because of Spears, folks. This was a guy who's under criminal investigation. His family's under criminal investigation. And, you know, charity fraud is a big no-no, legally and morally. There's not much lower than fraudulent activity in regards to a charity. Well, maybe. What do you mean, maybe? The thing worse than charity fraud is being a pedo, right? That's the only thing. And I am going on a tangent. It's called Tangent Kings, and I'm hosting for the first time. I'm very nervous, you know. I am. Let's ask Rhoda now, so I can stop babbling. What do you make of this topic in question?
Well, I back in 1920, I wasn't around these sort of places yet, so I'm like not saying this from memory. I'm only what I'm learning like lately. But yeah, charity frauds is absolutely completely unforgivable, and the dude does look like a human hedge. I think the thing I would say about the double apology, like if you apologize and it's not accepted and then you apologize again, it's not an apology. It's like a me, you know, look at me. If you're going to apologize a second time for something you've apologized for already, then that's just completely and totally bloody disingenuous. So yeah, I think he's a tosser.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Slay? What do you make of this situation from all that you have heard?
I just wanted to point out, I see that we have like 2 or 3 apology videos from the completionist plus a federal investigation, yet By Large Mansions did the same thing and we have 0 from them, or 0 investigations. So
it's because he's not black enough.
But seriously though, this and the first topic show the perfect reason why I refuse to get involved with any like large organizations or charities or even early access on games, because I want to be the kind of creator that works for you, the audience, and depends solely on contributions from the community, so I can stay true to myself and my viewers alone.
Who else, Slade? Do you know who else says contributions? DSP. Dun dun dun. Slay is DSP.
No.
All right then. Well, that didn't.
I would
go
just consider
anywhere.
that more of enablers than contributors. They
Yes,
just
it would-
enable his bad
Yeah.
behavior.
And
Same with
folks,
Hassan.
if you donate to Roger, you're enabling his food addiction. There we
Not
go.
wrong.
Indeed.
I'll eat more
But I-
cartoon characters.
Yes, that's very dangerous for our democracy. Stop eating my people, We have a mandate going back 10 billion years.
You oughta,
Stop
people.
it. Let my people go from your stomach. But looking at this more and more, as it's just announced, the Simpsons movie is getting a sequel.
Oh,
I shall.
It's just
I
been
that should be
announced.
right.
Yeah, first poster for the Simpsons movie sequel in theaters July 23rd, 2027. Talk about the completionist, folks. I'd rather talk about the Simpsons movie getting a sequel. What do
Yeah,
we guys think?
I showed off the first look at the movie poster over on my Country Time Pop X account,
look,
asking like people what their thoughts on it. Are you excited for the movie, or do you think the Simpsons just needs to end already?
What's the matter, Homer? Don't you like the sound of my voice?
No, it's a whole lot more gravelier than that, considering the fact that she's been doing this voice for like 35 years.
yeah, well, I mean, this is a show that honestly has outlived its usefulness. There was a point in the 90s where The Simpsons was popular culture, pretty much just the embodiment of it. But unfortunately, just like many other things in the current zeitgeist, it went fully political. They've made Lisa Simpson, who's like, 8 years old, because the characters don't age, like non-binary. Bart Simpson is a feminist now, whatever the F that means. They've killed off. Yeah.
Is that stuff currently going on in this
Yes.
show now?
Yes, of course. They've also
I
killed
haven't
off.
I haven't watched a new episode in like 15 years.
They've killed
Yeah,
off. Well, let's look at the fact
same.
no,
I'm kinda
that's how,
glad I
that's how
haven't now.
not relevant The Simpsons has become. And it was still somewhat relevant when the first movie came out, but then the first movie, a lot of people didn't like it. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting different results this time. Because now, on top of the fact that the first movie was mediocre, you now have a politically divisive brand that is trying to come back for some kind of relevance. And I think that it's pretty much embarrassing at this point that they even have to do this.
When
I
did
don't
The
think it's going to do well for them.
When did The Simpsons first debut? Was it like the mid-'80s?
I think it's
It-
at
it was-
87 or 89.
It
Yeah,
was
late 80s.
around. It was around
it-
the Christmas of 1989. That was when the official first episode came out. But then it was on like
The Tracy Ullman Show was a
Tracy-
vignette
Tracy
on the
Ullman
Tracy Ullman
Show.
Show. It used to be
Right.
like a little vignette that would show up, for like 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
Mhm.
little sketch, and then
Yeah,
they gave it a
completely
film
different
show.
character models, though.
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
You guys may be wondering, why has Digny put a pig video up? It's like Spider Pig's kid is here, folks. It's Spider Pig's kid, right? This isn't Roger's meal.
No, it's
Okay?
too small.
See, look, it's too small. This is a light bite for
It's
Roger.
too cute.
Okay, the nice little pig, just to promote, cute animals for the algorithm, folks. As we become aware of the fact that the Simpsons movie is getting a sequel, and hopefully the characters' voices will still be working by the time.
Oh wow! I just looked it up, and the day that the Simpsons movie sequel comes out will literally be around 20 years to the
Yeah.
day when the original movie came out.
Uh-huh.
You know what they should do? They should make it with AI. They should just AI voices, AI storyline, and have it be The Simpsons made in AI. Simple.
That's not out of the realm of possibility, considering that we're seeing a bunch of stuff out there of like Marvel hinting that they might bring back Stan Lee for his cameos using AI in future movies.
Oh, they're
digital-
already having him at comic conventions. They're having an AI Stan Lee that you can talk to.
God.
Yeah,
It's
and he's
really
saying woke
bad.
shit.
Yep. Yeah, of course he's I mean, again, it's like if I were to create a hologram of Digny and just replace his personality with a Sweet Baby approved human.
How dare you call me Brinlin, whatever his last name is?
Bunsen Honey. No, Brinlin Hollyhand. I'm sorry. I thought it was Bunsen
Yeah,
Honeydew.
him.
Yeah.
Imagine if we mass produced Charlie Kirk, but he's pro-Israel. That's him. So weird, man. It's so weird. Don't worry, folks. We're just padding out time because I need an 8-minute video. But I do find it very interesting that so many things are developing. And I'm very confident looking into the future. But the idea of another Simpsons movie does not fill me with glorious optimism. Why? Because the Disney joke isn't going to be in this film.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It's not going to be in this film. In fact, it'll probably be a joke about Fox. But then Fox will be like, well, we screwed you financially, so I think we both won.
Here's the other amusing thing. Younger people don't have any fondness for The Simpsons because they didn't grow up with it. So
Exactly.
it's just completely going over their head. There's no nostalgia to farm here. They're not going to go see it. You know, they're more likely to go see Minecraft and Jack Black and Chicken Jockey and all that nonsense. They're not going to turn out for The Simpsons. It's just not happening.
Yeah. Lava Chicken, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought Fortnite was cringe. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the fourth and final topic of today's show, which is 2.4. I'll write that down for a solid hour. 26 minutes dead. And 2.4 is the following. Is MAGA blaming video games for violence? Because Maha certainly is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the only Kennedy who hasn't been shot dead is criticizing video games for people getting shot dead. Make America healthy again by limiting your video game access. What do we think?
It's going back to that whole entire thing back in the 90s when the original Mortal Kombat came out, and you had, like, what was his name? Like, Jeff Johnson or whatever his name is.
Jack Thompson.
Jack Thompson, thank you. I knew it sounded something like that. But where he came out and say, like, oh, these violent video games are making kids pull their spines out of their assholes and all that bullshit.
I just think it's very interesting that this is a topic, and, you know, we're going to have to censor Roger using a swear word within this minute. But we'll keep in that laugh. Right, and we'll keep in that prior comment so that you guys know that we're playing the game here on YouTube and we're playing to win. That's why Digny has over 150 subs and will pass Furious Dan very, very soon. And when we pass him, we're going to be like, LMFAO! I've done more in a month than you've done in 6 years. There we go. All right, then. I'm just going to share my screen. Literally, I've done so well. I've taken over someone's show.
Oh, boy.
Oh, dear. And this is courtesy of Culture Crave. Now, this was from September the 10th, so this is like old news, folks. But I want everyone to know the relevant context for this topic, because I think it's a very important question. Because if the Trump administration gets hostile to not just video games, but popular culture as a whole, it will be over for MAGA forever.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time to take advantage of the fact that the Democrats are leaderless, rudderless, and without creative direction. But no, we're going to have this pill popper who wants to take away aluminum and mercury from vaccines, that evil bastard. Why do you want to take aluminum and perfectly fine metals out of vaccines? You bad man.
Red dye number 3.
This is a guy who can't even speak properly. You think Marge Simpson's voice is bad? You know, you probably shouldn't have aluminum and mercury in your vaccines. How do I know this? I know this because I ingested aluminum and mercury. That's why my voice is so fucked up. But courtesy of Culture Grave, and I did that without a voice mixer, you fuckers. Courtesy of Culture Crave, RFK Jr. claims mass shootings could be linked to video games. This has been widely dismissed, including by studies from the Secret Service, the Department of Education, and the American Psychological Association. Now, I'll give RFK Jr. one thing: he's the
Mhm.
best Kennedy around because he's the only Kennedy around, folks. But I just find this very concerning because are we going to see the creative direction of MAGA and of Maha as being let's be hostile against pop culture because we can? Let's get Jose's perspective first.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack with this. First of all, I will say this, that, up front, typically I do like RFK because of the fact that he's done things like blown up whales, eaten a bear's heart. I mean, these things are incredibly metal. Plus, he's a Kennedy, so there's a lot of dead prostitutes that have been left behind in his wake. That being said, you have to remember that at the end of the day, Robert Kennedy Jr. is coming from the Democrat Party. He is a reformed Democrat, whatever that means. In fact, Donald Trump is a reformed Democrat. His policies are what the Clintons' policies were some 20 odd years ago, and yet they say that he is now far right and a menace. But the thing is, nothing's really changed with Donald Trump, RFK, the left or the right here. Neither side has ever been on the side of gamers. There have been times in the past during Trump's first term where he also blamed violent video games. And this is coming off of the fact that the ICE shooter that we saw at the tail end of last week has something like over 1,000 hours a piece in Rust, Left 4 Dead 2, and the other game is Team Fortress 2. Now, I know a lot of people who play those games. Those games are well over 20 years old. If that caused a lot of violence, we'd have a lot more shooters running around to begin with. But it's always expedient for them to use this excuse to rein it in. This is what they're going to use to sort of align with the collective shouts of the world to dictate the content of video games. And it doesn't matter left or right who's in charge. We're in the middle, and we're always going to be sort of screwed by this. The problem is that too many people in our space, and I say that collectively as we are gamers, decided to dance on Charlie Kirk's grave 3 weeks ago. And the fact is, whether you like video games, whether you like anime, whether you like any of these things, the left does too. And unfortunately, the left has taken control. They've taken cultural control. That's why we talk about a woke Wolverine game. That's why we talk about a woke Ghost of Yotai game. The left has taken control of your hobbies. And it's very simple. It's so that you have no allies on the other side that are going to go to bat for you when those hobbies implode on themselves. By every leftist doing a dance on the grave of Charlie Kirk, basically, celebrating a man's assassination, by all these leftists being anti-ICE, and then an anti-ICE shooter gets himself into a lot of trouble and happens to have over 3,000 hours of video games played on 3 shooters. It's so that this way, if we can't control this space, for the rest of you that don't want us here, we will destroy this space and we'll use the people you voted for to do it. Because the people you voted for at the end of the day are not, other than JD Vance, who's around our age, all of them are boomers. They all think Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, Night Trap, Doom, etc. causes the problem. Because it's easier to blame that for what the generation in front does than the fact that many of them were bad parents. Many of them did not prevent these transgender, people into gaming, these woke people into gaming, these leftist people into gaming. And it just is a convenient excuse. And we are going to pay the price. We are going to pay the price because we didn't gatekeep these people the hell out when we had the chance. Now they've come in, they've taken over our hobby, and they're going to either change the locks and kick us out, or they're going to make sure the government puts a boot on our neck by the time we reclaim said hobby.
Exactly. I'm of the view that boomers are to America what the greatest generation was to the Soviet Union, in that we're never letting go of power. We will only let go of power when we're dead. And the Soviet Union had that massive problem because most of its leaders, especially towards the end, were born before the Second World War. They were at least in their 60s, and they had this old mindset that was completely destroying their society. And this, you have to consider, the 1980s was a period of of massive innovation in the West because we had a not because we had a younger generation at the helm, but the creative direction of the West was of a younger generation, even if our leaders were, older in that respect, right? The creative focus of a generation is as important as those of a generation who are in power. And I think our biggest problem today, and it's actually a good problem to have, when people live too long. Usually the problem is people don't live long enough. But for generations, we have been governed by one group of people, not that group of people, folks, the other group of people who were born after the Second World War. A lot of them were born, and in a democratic society, they're the ones who win out. That's why they get their lovely pensions, and you can't get free tuition. And thank you to the Gamer Empress for raiding the stream. We appreciate you, lovely lady. Thank you for raiding a stream without a host or a guest. Living proof that if you can't make your network show, I will. If you can't run your show, I will. Ha. I really am Israeli, aren't I? But in all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's very dangerous when, politically speaking, the entire landscape is like, this industry is to blame for a tragedy. Because under that mindset, it's very simple. That industry is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
No more, no less. Let's get panel perspectives now so we can pad out the runtime and I can get more videos. Let's start off with Roger. What do you make of this topic so far?
Okay, just going off of like what Jace was saying, it's the whole entire thing of the reasoning why we're even in this situation in the first place is due to the fact that the right and Republicans, they saw no interest in pop culture as a whole and everything because they saw it as being nothing but a waste of time. That's why they never invested in it, while the left saw how the country was going and everything, seeing this stuff getting as big as what it ended up becoming, and they took their time investing into it. That's why whenever the times when we should have gatekept, that was during a time where like people who do like video games, anime, and all that didn't have too many people to discuss it with. So as soon as you meet somebody else, it's like, oh, somebody else that's into the same thing I am. Yeah, of course I'll talk to you about it. That's where it all stems from, is the fact that one side saw it as nothing but a waste of time, waste of money, and whatnot. Then the other side supposedly went open arms, was like, hey, we will accept you for liking this stuff because we like this stuff, until they use it to stab you in the back with it.
Well, creatively speaking, folks, from a political perspective, creatively speaking, the left have always been more creative than the right, because that's the nature of progressing forward. Tradition doesn't like changing things. But before we continue, money, folks, money.
Ooh.
One thing that we can all agree on. Thank you to Roadkill for a nearly $10 donation, in which you say, Michelle Obama made me donate with her big brown snow cone.
I was going to say, Roadkill, I think you misspelled Michael.
Yeah. To what you were saying there, Roger, too, I mean, even now, there are many Republicans or conservatives that push back on gamer culture. Let's take a look at, for example, Matt Walsh.
I was about ready to bring up Matt Walsh, because he's literally the same age as probably most of us here, being in like his early 30s. Yet he talks like he's a 60-year-old.
Well, that's the big issue, Roger. Ideologically speaking, when you have a group of people whose foundation is in tradition. Traditional people don't create anything.
Exactly.
That's why for thousands of years in human history, in recorded human history, barely anything changed, right?
Well,
I'll give you one thing in regards to the left. They know how to change things for better or for worse. They know how to
Yeah.
change
Well,
things.
here's this thing about these people is, I hate when they argue with us about video games, because the same person will sit there and binge watch a Netflix show for
Yep.
8 hours and say that it's not a waste of time, or sit there all day long watching football game after football game back to back. That's not a waste of time. But the minute that you log into a video game, you're wasting your time. Look, I pay my bills. I pay what I have to into this rigged system. I take care of my business. How I choose to engage in my downtime is my business. And the right has not figured this out to this day. I still have people who pop into my streams once in a while on Rumble and on other platforms and go, video games are for kids. They're just a waste of time. Well, you're wasting your time arguing with me about it while I'm playing my game.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
tell
you
me
for
it's a
the
waste of
engagement.
time when you come to watch me and tell me it's a
Well,
waste of time. Okay,
Well,
nice,
that's
nice,
the
nice.
thing. That's the thing. That's the thing people need to understand, right? You have to put it in an ideological way to appeal to ideologues. So let me put it this way to the conservative right. Video games are a waste of time. The industry is bigger than the movie industry. And the games industry is financially bigger than the movie industry. For all the flops that we see in the games industry, it makes a heck of a lot of money, especially in the mobile gaming market. Every phone is potentially a conduit for finances. And that's why Jared Kushner is working with the Saudi authorities to buy EA for $55 billion US, because EA, for all of its faults, and it has so many faults, has so many franchises that they have on the shelf that could easily be monetized if they were properly organized. And for right-leaning people, you put it in a financial way, because economic conservatism is not creative, but it loves to make money, right? And that's the thing. And if you want to put it in a left-wing way, look at all these great video game companies. Look at all of these great franchises. Look at all of these entry points to push your ideology forward. Nationalize all of these companies in a strong command and control state. And that's how you appeal to people within the political zeitgeist, not to normal people. If you want to talk to normal people about gaming, it's like it's a good game. You get to shoot aliens. You get to enjoy a nice virtual lady, Cortana, and you'll enjoy the franchise that way. That's why people need to understand. Everyone within this space is an avatar of their ideas, whether you like to admit it or not. When you do this often enough, you learn a lot, and a lot is imprinted on you. So the next time a conservative tells you that you're wasting your time playing video games, remind them how much money is in this fucking industry, and realize and make them realize they ain't making a dime doing it. In fact, it's gotten so insane. Game developers are moaning about it now. Content creators are making more money streaming games than game devs are making them. That's how successful the new digital market economy is, and you should be praising that and supporting that, especially if you're an economic conservative. Okay? Let's get Rhoda's perspective now.
Yeah, and the idea, like, look, to go back to the actual topic,
We've moved on now. I got my middle timestamp, so yeah, we just evolve topics. But you can talk about it if you want.
Okay, but if games are supposed to be like influencing like violence and things, then what about going to school and going to history class? What about someone was talking about sports? What about watching a hockey game? Isn't hockey extremely violent? That's but perhaps we should ban hockey sticks. Perhaps we should ban history lessons. Although I suppose a lot of people in politics do actually want to ban history lessons, so that's a completely different subject. But you get where I'm going with this. It's like, if they can't blame one thing, they'll blame another, and if they can't blame that, they'll blame another. At some point, it's going to be wildlife documentaries because you see a tiger killing a mongoose or something, and then like, oh look, that furry went out and started biting a cow. He must have watched the wildlife documentary of the tiger killing the mongoose. So we need to ban wildlife documentaries.
It's the same mindset.
Yeah, it's just like a play for censorship. That's all it's about. It doesn't matter what the subject is. It's just control. It's just censorship, and we need to rise above it as customers and do what the hell we want.
Look, I'm not against an organized command and control society, folks, as long as it works. And most of the time, it doesn't work. And the Soviet Union proved that, right? They over-organized themselves so much that it created an administrative nightmare to the point where they couldn't run their civilization without killing lots of people in the process. Right? I am not against organized societies as long as they work. And they don't work because the bigger the damn society, the harder it is to organize. That's why the Americans
which goes right back to what we were saying a while ago with too many meetings to decide how many meetings to decide how many meetings to decide what we're going to have the meetings about.
And that's why I think it's very I think it's very important for people to realize that the smaller the society is, the easier it is to organize. That's why smaller states with smaller populations are much easier to govern than bigger states with more people to govern. The United States is very rare in that it was a build your own country with no real root, right? It built its own roots over hundreds of years instead of developing over thousands of years like other countries like England or Japan, to name but a few, or Egypt for that matter. And I think it's very important for people to realize that video games do not cause violence, right? Violence causes violence.
Absolutely.
Right? Violent rhetoric also inspires violent actions. It's not a direct correlation, folks, but it is there. When Hassan Piker makes a statement that supports violent rhetoric, it aids in the development of violent actions. When Kamala Harris tells folks to fight fire with fire, and then a church is set on fire in Michigan, violent rhetoric creates the potential for violent actions. And that is why there is no place for political violence in our society. Of course, freedom of speech and freedom of expression needs to be protected. The red line is incitement to violence because it creates political violence. And if there's enough political violence, the entire world will turn into the Middle East and we will never know any peace. Okay? RFK Jr., video games didn't really exist when your uncle was president, and look what happened to him.
I mean,
if video games caused violence, President Kennedy wouldn't have been assassinated.
Yeah, that's true. This is true.
Simple as that, right? The games industry was barely an infant when Reagan was nearly assassinated. Video games didn't kill Reagan or try to kill Reagan. It's just this same means to an end nonsense. Realize it is a scapegoat, and you guys have got to realize this right here, right now. This is a booming industry. It's not going to fade away, and that is why it's now more than ever it needs to be supported. The more lucrative the industry, the more it can drive prosperity, the more it should be supported. But based on that logic, we'd still have slavery. Slay, what do you make of this topic before we have future plans? Because that slavery was very profitable. Imagine buying a person for the amount of a car. Well, you're going to do that when Optimus goes on sale for 20K. Then it'll wake up and kill you. Slay, what do you make of this topic before we go to future plans?
And it feels like a bit of deja vu for me. Like, this is where Republicans start to lose any trust that they started to gain from me. And it's been happening for as long as I've been living. I was a kid during the satanic panic when the conservative Christian right was going after video games and rock music.
Well, Slay, why don't we make this gentleman's agreement with the boomer conservatives, right? They don't censor games, and we let them bomb one Middle Eastern country.
Well, it's not only that. See, they have I don't know if you guys heard about, I don't know, don't quote me on what state it is. It might actually be Michigan. They're trying to pass.
Slay, sorry to interrupt you. This is a show with cartoons on it. If you use a cartoon as a news source, you need your head checked. Go ahead.
So they're also trying to ban anime, AI women in videos, ASMR, and it's just crazy. Like they, I mean, that would affect my music video, which is a very innocent music video, just because it has Annie in it. And the Republicans are starting to sound like Collective Shout a little bit, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
She looks like a child. Censor! 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 How old is she? She's 18. She doesn't look 18. Censor! And that's what they'll use. And they'll accuse you, Slay, of being a digital sex offender.
Yep.
It's insane. And that's why, folks, there needs to be a new way. Not that new way bullshit of Bill Clinton and Tony Blair. An actual new way. And no, I'm not talking about you libertarians who are as deluded as the communists are, in that you can get rid of the state and live in a perfect utopia. No, you live in a cyberpunk 2077 corporate hellscape. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to future plans before I rant and rave all over a show that isn't mine. Remember that. It's not mine. Not officially, anyway. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, future plans, 1 hour, 52 minutes, 10 seconds. And we'll start off with Jose. Future plans.
All right. Well, I'm Jace with Cancel This Podcast. We broadcast on Rumble because I'm too crude for YouTube. John will have happy hour tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, covering a lot of the news that went on this weekend, all the shootings, all the spice, all the crazy stuff going on. I video game stream throughout the week on the channel. I'll probably be playing a little combination of Dragon Quest X and Final Fantasy XIV a little later tonight. Not sure what time, so just follow us on X at Cancel This Pod so you can stay abreast of when we go live, or you can join our Discord as well. And of course, Cancel This Podcast comes to you live Thursday nights, 11:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where politics meets pop culture with snark, sarcasm, and satire. I'd love to see you guys there because of the fact that it is very, very, very difficult. It is an uphill battle to build on a platform like Rumble. But I like to say magical words that I can't say on YouTube. Far too much to build here. So I do appreciate all y'all's support. Thank you.
And remember, folks, Black Lives Matter. Roger, what are your future plans?
Well, I'm Roger with Country Time Pop, and of course, every Monday nights over on the Rustic Rollers, which is the official tabletop group of Country Time Pop, we'll be streaming tonight the next installment of the One Piece D&D campaign that I am running with my friends, and there'll actually be a new player that'll be joining with us tonight. So if you're curious to see who that might be, just come over and give us a watch. We always have a fun time over there, and still in the process of getting everything officially set up. And one other announcement, hopefully within like a year's time, Dignity won't be making fun of me eating cartoon characters, because I want to try to start going back to the gym and everything here soon.
Ozempic. What about you, Rotor? What are your future plans?
Yeah, in just over an hour, I've got my semi-regular Mario Monday stream. At the moment, I'm doing Super Mario RPG, the remake on the Switch 1, because I refuse to buy a Switch 2 because they're a rip-off. So, so that's happening, and then I'll be on Will of the Fan Show tomorrow, and then my own Tomb Raider Tuesday later on that evening, about 3 hours later, 2 hours later, depending on how long we go. And I was going to be putting out a music video tonight, but I came to do this instead of editing it, so that'll be coming out sometime during the week. And
Well,
as
fingers
always, Tar for having me on. Lovely to see you all. And, you know, just be excellent to each other, party on, dudes, and smeg off.
Well, hopefully that goes well, my good man. We appreciate you for being here. I know it's unusual to have Rotor and Slay here, folks. However, the network always finds a way to succeed and to prevail. And I think with the success of this show, we've set a very dangerous precedent for the other network hosts and a very good precedent for me. Slay, future plans.
Yes. So I will be on System Crash on Wednesday, like usual. I missed last week, but I'll be back. And then also Thursday Night Noise. I am on hiatus from my stream schedule for a little bit longer. I'm coming back on Sunday and going back to my regular schedule because I was upgrading everything. But in the meantime, I've been putting out, you know, music videos and commercials and stuff to, you know, keep people entertained in between. So if you want to check those out, subscribe to my channel.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, Furious Dan, your hateful comment about me is very bigoted. How dare you accuse me of being a cheap Jew who never buys his brother Raja a new boat? Well, it's hard to buy an Indian a new boat when he covers it full of shit. Okay? Simple as that. But my future plans are to make more videos, to have more network shows. Starting this week, we're going to have 4 network shows instead of 3. We're going to have a Wednesday show and a Thursday show and a Friday show. Wow, that's not going to drive me completely insane. No, not at all, because you know, I just make the shows happen. I don't invite the guests. I don't set up the shows. I don't make the thumbnails. I don't do anything. No. But go and check out my channel, The Dignified Cartoon Gentleman. Just passed 150 subs. Hopefully we can get to 300 by the end of the year. September has been a fantastic first month for me and for the network as a whole. Hopefully that continues. You know, it would be nice to get to 500 by the end of the year, but I think that's a bit too ambitious. But we appreciate everyone for their support. And it's looking like we're going to get 9,000 views this month on Digny's channel. Now, for a channel with only 150 subs, that's insane. That would be like a 1,500 subscriber channel getting 90,000 views, or a 15,000 subscriber channel getting 900,000 views. So, and once you scale that up, you can see the potential of Digny's channel and of the network as a whole. And we can all benefit from it. We can all benefit from it. And we won't be wiped out this time. Thank you all very much for watching the 5th episode of Discuss Things, Tangent Kings. Without Discuss Thing, and with only our guest for the first half of the show. I think this has been a great success. We got 26 likes while we were live. Hopefully we can get to 30 likes, you know, through replays. We appreciate everyone for watching whether it's live or on replay. And thank you all for giving me the pretext for having this become possible on other network shows as well. Because I can tell the hosts, look, it worked for Helzo. So if you ever get ill, if you ever can't make it, we can do this and everything will be fine. This show is getting renewed another 5 episodes. So before we go, we're going to thank all the people for their donations. Because, hey, if Helzo can get donations and not even turn up, then wow, he's really found a way. Thank you to Sabr. Thank you to Death Star, Akka, Cliff, Yablonsky's step-grandson. And thank you to Roadkill for your donations. We appreciate every single one of you fine people. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and no other degenerate groups, bye for now, folks. Wakanda forever.